Welcome to the Dungeon Crawlers Podcast, casting light on the depths of online multiplayer gaming. I am your host, Aggelos, and with me this week, as always, returning even after last week, and I beat the crap out of him then, my normal co-host. First up, Broden, looking all dapper in his nice, clean webcam now. You can...
Hi!
There we go. I was like, you can mute if you wanted.
I wasn't muted, I just...
Just didn't want to talk. All right. Next up...
Fuck you.
Well, hey, you got your first curse word in.
Yeah! Beat her this time!
God damn it, you beat me, Chips!
And that lovely little lady with the... Well, I don't know if we can even use lady anymore with language like that, but that's Taruha. How are you?
Yeah, barking lady. I'm good. Tired. I mean, it's 3 in the morning for me, so... You know, it's it's late.
Aren't you normally up by that amount of time anyway? I mean...
I managed to turn my day around, and now I'm just completely zombie mode at this time of night, so...
Okay, alright.
But we'll get through it.
And sorry.
Hello!
Hey, how are you doing, man?
I am also here. I noticed that most of us are podcasting in the darkness tonight, which I think is fitting for our dungeon motif.
Well, I mean, I kind of got my background going.
I'll fix it. Give me a second. I'll be edgy.
The darkness is the background.
Now we're going to be hyper edgy. All right.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Is it the reason why, and this is a perfect segue, into our news. The reason why we're all dark is we're going to have to start off this episode with a little bit of sadness. We have to do a nod to probably one of the oldest MMOs out there. Today we're seeing the sunsetting of both Asheron's Call and Asheron's Call 2. A few months back we heard the announcement that Turbine Studios that they were looking to get out of the MMORPG business altogether, which left many, including us over at the Dungeon Crawler Network, wondering what would become of the MMORPGs that are still under Turbine's control. A few weeks ago, we then heard the announcement that a new studio called Standing Stone Studios was spun off of Turbine, and they took possession of both Dungeons & Dragons Online and the Lord of the Rings Online. Unfortunately, both Asheron's Call and Asheron's Call 2 did not make the cut. So they were announced to be sunsetted, and actually their sunset day is today if you're watching it live. So, yeah. Out of all of us here, I think the only person who actually played Asheron's Call would have been Broden. So, Broden, feel free to, let the tears out.
You can tell us about AC and how great being a member of AARP is.
Oh, and welcome chat room. I see there's some RIP for Club Penguin, which is also closing down.
No, I started my entire MMO career online gaming with Asheron's Call. It was my first big MMO that I got into. I was young, so I mean it was definitely a worthwhile experience, and it's kind of sad to see it go. I mean, I don't think I'd go back and play the game again just because it's old. It doesn't age well, per se.
Do you need to be held, buddy?
It's sad to see go.
Anytime an MMO gets shut down, it's sad because a lot of what DCN is about is community, and we have a really big friendly community, and those games, if they're still around, often have a very tight-knit community because it's not like they're gaining new players, right? It's you hold on to the ones you have dearly, but now all these people are going to be displaced. I know Asheron's Call 1 was but put in maintenance mode for quite a while, so it's not like it's the sword of Damocles above the head. Once it's in maintenance mode, it's like, well, when's it going to happen? But it's always sad to see it happen. So,
I remember starting that game. I played it with my dad, and I mean that's the big one that made me start off always doing the unarmed classes. Unarmed pugilist was what I was in that one. So monks and such. It was just it's where I started. It's where it started me off, and I'm sad to see it go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is definitely sad, and our hearts go out to anyone who is still playing both of those games. I mean, it is sad that I see some people in chat are talking about DDO. DDO is still around and apparently still gets updates. Standing Stone spun off of Turbine. In fact, what's really funny is apparently they spun off of Turbine to make a new company to handle both of these MMOs. But they're still in the same building. Like, I don't even think they move seats. So yeah, like, they're different from what Turbine was, and yet they're the same.
Except Asheron's Call.
Except for Asheron's Call, yeah. I know Massively OP kind of went in there and they tried to get an interview with Turbine to ask, hey, why didn't Standing Stone take these two? And they were just like, talk to Turbine, but Turbine won't talk. And Taro, I see you had your hand up there.
No, I just I kind of the camera unfocused.
Oh, okay. All right. No, for a second there, I know, like, previous one, I'm like, hey, we gotta work better about talking over one another. And I thought, I'm like, wow, she's really taking that to heart. She's raising her hand like she's in class. Wow.
I can start doing that.
I was really impressed for a moment, and then I realized, no.
I'm still a bitch. Don't worry.
All right. I like
it. I don't need to replace her.
I know. For a second there, I'm like, oh, she's starting to get really nice and does not fit this crew. Our little party of dungeon crawlers right here, we're all assholes. So, you're lucky. Anyway, so that was it. We just wanted to give a nod to Asheron's Call because regardless of whether or not you played it or didn't, it is no longer here, and it was a big part of the
I think they did some sort of special event called a farewell, but I'm not sure.
I've heard that too, but they also were like almost 3 months ago, I think they stopped making, or you couldn't make accounts anymore. So if you hadn't had an account before then, so if they did a farewell, it was only for the people who were actually playing. You couldn't actually get into it if you didn't play before. So yeah, I don't know. It's sad to see go, but both of those are now.
I mean, it was definitely one of the like first bigger MMOs too.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the few alternatives to EverQuest. I mean, that was really
that's what I mean. Like, not counting the obvious ones, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back in the day, we're in a state of MMO bloat right now. Like, well, not right now, but over the past 10 years or so, with all the quote unquote WoW clones and stuff that came out in the wake of WoW's success, once upon a time, you didn't have the breadth of games to pick from. There was.
I mean, that's kind of boiled down to like 5 games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. But back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot. Like, there was Ultima Online, there was EverQuest 1, Asheron's Call, and that was pretty much it.
Back then, yeah.
Okay, all right. She rose her. All right.
I mean, just so people know why I'm not saying much is because I didn't play MMOs until my first MMO was Guild Wars, like the Guild Wars 1, the first Guild Wars.
Well, that was still 12 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh, Guild Wars 1 was fine. That's better than Guild Wars 2.
And there's the cynicism we all know and love.
I mean, opinions are just like assholes. Everyone's got one, you know.
Well, she's got a point.
Yeah, but I mean, I also have a point. Guild Wars 2 was not as good as Guild Wars 1.
I didn't play it enough either to form that much of an opinion, to be honest. But yeah.
All right, so if you watched our show last 2 weeks ago, whatever, episode 1, we did one on the announcement of a new MMORPG in development called Ashes of Creation from Intrepid Studios. Since that episode, the developers over at that studio have been extremely busy putting out a bunch of concept art, videos, and all that fun stuff to show off the progress that they've been making on their game. One of the newest videos highlights the changing of the seasons, which was really cool, and there will be a link to this in the podcast notes on DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com, so you can check that out if you so desire. But the question I really wanted to ask the host, does the changing of seasons add to gameplay for you? And I know they were talking about this is not going to be like dynamic like every couple hours. It was pretty much how they described it is every time there's a server maintenance, it's going to shift the season. Sorry, why don't you go ahead and jump on this, because I know you had mentioned a few things early on.
Yeah, one of the things that, well, let me just start with the question. Does that, make my experience better? And I think playing Final Fantasy XIV like I am right now, where, the weather changes, if not the season, it's very similar, and affects absolutely nothing. And I still think it's awesome. Every time I go into a new zone, I'm like, oh my god, it's foggy now. What's going on?
I have to interject, and that's not 100% true, because whenever the Odin weather shows up, something happens. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So there's one. There's one that matters.
Only one that matters.
Haven't seen
so.
Yet. Yeah. No. Okay. Maybe there's more, but for the most part,
the weather will affect like your gathering and fishing and stuff.
No, he's got a point. Really? Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's something else. So that's
it
pretty cool.
hasn't affected my gameplay at all yet.
There you go.
That's why I'm just throwing that out there. It's just real quick as a side note. Other than the Odin weather, Aggelos.
So even though it hasn't affected what I'm doing at all, I still think it brings value just based on novelty.
Immersion.
Just to see something that's different. I'm not going to say the I word, but that is pretty much what it is.
Immersion.
No.
We don't say that dirty word around here.
Oh, I'm sorry. It makes me feel more like a part of the world.
So yeah, I like that. But it does sound like it is actually going to affect gameplay in Ashes, at least allegedly at this point. I've seen some concepts that they've been floating around that show sort of different creature models for different seasons. So, maybe it'll be covered in snow and frosty or, yeah, that's the obvious one. Just maybe different color palettes for the other seasons. I don't really remember, but from looking at the concept art, you could tell you could have guessed what season each was. It wasn't a guess. It's just winter's obvious. Yeah, so I thought that was cool. We noticed in the preview video that they did that the lake actually froze over, and Steven said, yes, you'll be able to walk on it when it's frozen, so that's pretty cool. And they've said they want it to affect your gameplay, and we don't really know what that means yet. So I think it's really cool even if it doesn't. It looks great. Yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to let Tyra talk here in a minute. I want her to hear her opinions on this as well, but the novelty, if it only changes weather, and that's it, it'll be really cool at first, especially every maintenance you go down. Oh, wow, the world looks different. But eventually, it'll just be like any other MMO weather system, like in Final Fantasy, where it doesn't really affect your gameplay if there's not marked change. We don't know this for a fact one way or the other, but the way they've been talking is they've wanted to add different elements to the game, like in winter maybe you need to dress warmer and things like that. Like if they do manage to pull that off, then yes, that is something that's cool. But I mean, a lot of games have said they were going to do that and that things were going to.
How would you pull that off without having like some sort of fatigue meter?
Ask Arcage, I guess, if you really want to talk fatigue.
Yeah,
meters.
no. If you want to talk fatigue meter, look at any game who's attempted it. 14.1.0, Arcage, things like that. That went real well.
And I see chat room. No, she's actually being a good girl because I yelled at everyone in the chat after last show about not talking over each other, so I have them scared.
We're living in fear.
Shut up. Tarua, you're being so sweet and just sitting there listening, and you can't have that. So please open your mouth and show how much of an asshole you are to everyone, so that way you fit in with the crew.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, it looks pretty. But I don't know, like, I kind of agree with the rest of what you're saying, that it's, I kind of don't know to what extent it's going to affect your gameplay, like, it other than looking pretty and feeling like time is passing, which I kind of feel is important in playing games, or it just feels stagnant and boring.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, though, to interrupt, sorry, one thing I was thinking was that if it doesn't affect your gameplay... Here I'm going. If it doesn't affect your gameplay, I'd prefer it not be maintenance based, but be tied to the actual seasons of our actual planet. And I feel that would be a little bit more immersive. And before anybody interjects, yes, fuck the Southern Hemisphere. Nobody cares about you.
Well, it would be cool if there were just random blizzards in the middle of summer. I mean, like, because that does happen.
Oh, you want random shit? Just make it follow Colorado's weather.
Yeah.
If they did that, it would be down for maintenance every 3 hours, bro. Oh, we gotta change the weather. Hold on.
Shit! It's raining now. Now it's snowing.
Snow in June.
Now it's sunny and snowing. We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I would love to see extreme weather, though. To be honest, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Like extreme weather. Like not. We're not talking like thunderstorms, adorable little things that are in every game. We're talking like maybe a tornado instance or something like shit's going down. That would be cool.
Now, we talked about this last week, and we were saying how when we were talking about their node system, how do you feel about different parts of their world overcoming, like, I don't know, like you said, bad weather, like a tornado happens and it actually removes progression on the node, like it destroys half your town. You're like, your node loses levels.
But I would love to have a global warming simulator tied to industrialization.
Yes. We need ultra realism in a fantasy.
Where's my mute button?
Can it rain unicorns? That would be nice.
All right, so Dungeon Crawler Network Podcast is looking for new co-hosts because this is just insanity. No. Just like last time. All right, so we've got the weather. It's awesome. It's probably changing. I'm looking forward to seeing more of what Ashes of Creation. And obviously, Sari and I, we've been following it pretty closely and are excited to see it. And I know this comes off as a little bit of humor going on, but yeah, it is something that's pretty neat if it's more than just aesthetic. I mean, even aesthetic-wise, it's cool, but if it is just aesthetic, it's like, why tie it to maintenance periods? Why not just make it every 4 hours like most other games do, or every subset of time?
But so that's the other thing, though. If they're going to say it affects your gameplay, you can say the same thing about 14. If they're just going to make it affect like what crops you can grow or harvest or something like that, then they're still doing what they said, but it's no big friggin' deal.
Yeah, I kind of imagine it tying into node behavior personally. Just certain events can spawn if it's winter.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it, because we talked about clothing earlier, but unless they're going to go like Crowfall is doing and tack on survival mechanics to the game, which we haven't heard anything about, and that's kind of a whole other direction. Maybe they will, but that would be. I don't really see that much happening, to be honest.
I mean,
other than Node. Yeah, no.
I want to throw something out there just because of something said in the chat, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
WoW used to have a lot of cool things. Now it's bad. Because they got rid of all the
Phrasely
cool
there
shit.
with WoW had some cool weather in the beginning, and then they stopped it. Well, that can seg us into our next section.
Yeah.
With patch 7.2 World of Warcraft, they are bringing back Southshore versus Tarren Mill. At least
no, they aren't.
In instanced form.
They're not bringing back any.
If you played World of Warcraft back during vanilla, you might remember those iconic battles between the Horde-occupied Forsaken town of Tarren Mill and the Alliance human village of Southshore. Well, Blizzard had teased this matchup in one of their big anniversaries. I think it was, their 10-year. They brought back the instance version of Tarren Mill versus Southshore as a battleground. Now, it was only around for that particular anniversary, so it went back away. But it now seems that they are bringing it back as a persistent battleground. Does this something that brings excitement for you guys? And actually, chat room, I'd love to hear from you guys as well, especially Frasley. Frasley, I see a woo.
I'm morally offended.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with Asari first, because all I got from Broden was eck. So we'll circle around to him. Asari, go ahead. Morally offended. Why?
Morally offended, yes. This is offensive to me. Because Southshore versus Tarren Mill is sort of the most iconic instance of the world PvP that so many of us loved back in the day, which is now dead. And, it's something we would really like back as world PvP. And bringing it back as the gameplay feature that killed it is kind of like dressing up a Walmart like a mom-and-pop store. Or if, let's say, Anheuser-Busch was buying up hundreds of microbreweries. Wait. Shit.
Wow.
Yeah, no, but you see what I'm saying? I'm not offended. Obviously that's a joke, but it is kind of like, I wish you wouldn't.
It's kind of like,
if that's something you want to bring back, you can't
bring it back in its real fucking form. Bring back PvP, not just, hey, remember this thing?
Yeah. Especially since they did like World PvP sort of organically died as instance PvP became more popular and flying took over. But then they like really killed it off with Cataclysm when they were like, yeah, we've got these areas where people are questing in the same place. Nope, can't have that. And now it's like, it's just a horde zone. They trashed Southshore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only good thing to come of that. Look, Taro Gar, we won, bitches. But other than that...
For the horde!
Yeah.
My biggest issue with the way WoW has been progressing in entirety, even though that's not what we're really talking about, it's related, is the fact that they seem to regret all of the decisions they've made. They're backpedaling on half the shit that they've done throughout the entire thing, including flying, since they're always like locking it behind some sort of bullshit achievement nowadays.
Tara, I love your...
No, I was gonna say, like, they're not alone in this. Like, this is very common in, like, the theme park MMOs. Like, they say they're gonna do something, remove something, and then they go back on it when people complain or ask for it.
Right.
No one's complaining about the flying, though. Only they are, as a company.
I will complain about flying all day long.
Well,
But you can't get rid of it. It's there. It's not going anywhere. It shouldn't be there, but it is, and there's no way to take that away. Because
once you open that Pandora's box, there's no way to put it back together.
But I was saying it's a common thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In MMOs nowadays. Yeah, fixing things
that aren't broken,
and no, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say the word, but fixing things that aren't broken, doing things that doesn't need to be done, nobody asked for.
You know, this is actually a great meta topic, which I actually have written down on another thing, and it's the many NGEs of the MMORPG genre, like all the times where they made these big changes that they then regret.
They're like, oopsie.
Well, it's just amusing to me that Blizzard, the people who developed WoW, regret making flying when it was like the biggest deal back in the day.
Oh, that was a major selling point of...
I know, and now they just regret it and want it to go away, and all of their players are like, no? And they're like, yeah, you're not enjoying our game. It's like, we're not enjoying the game without
There's like
flying.
an anger... It's not all of them. There's like to take a wild guess, like an angry half that doesn't want it to be taken away. And with all the work and in-game resources and flying out collecting they've done, they're right. They should be angry. But I personally would give all that up to have flying gone. But I understand. It wouldn't be fair.
I think they just did it poorly, especially with how to unlock it in the last 2 or 3 expansions. I honestly think when it comes to flying mounts, and I'm going to let you talk, just hold on. I still think 14 did a really good job of unlocking it because it's not some stupid achievement. You just explore the entire area, and then you don't have to explore it anymore.
Well, that is
like you get
a portion of how WoW does it.
It's rep grinds. You have to have us exalted with everybody and bullshit like that.
Revered. I managed to do it in like a week or 2.
It's bullshit.
It wasn't. No, not really.
I think that game that did flying right was Guild Wars with gliding, where it's not permanent, but it's used in a way that you can, still get the feeling of flying around without, ruining exploring.
I think that's
actually adds to the exploring.
So I actually read an article about this in Arcade back in the day when they did gliders, and I liked it a little better. Guild Wars 2 doesn't have World PvP, so fine. Arcade is built around it. So, but the gliders, they gave you mount abilities while you're on it. You can like shoot people down on their gliders as you're doing like aerial maneuvers and stuff. That was fun. Like do gliders like that all day long. But flying mounts, I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, because it kind of removes a big portion of the game because you're just distancing yourself from the environment, and it's just.
And that was that was a lot of their reasoning for removing flying in the first place. Was because they're like, well, now it just becomes a whole people flying around. They jump down when their quest objective's there, hit it, and fly back up. Yeah. And I actually think a lot of that mentality is part of why they made Southshore versus Tarren Mill, and I'm bringing it back around, an instance because they want people not to be able to just fly in and do all. How would you bring Southshore and Tarren Mill back without it being, the instance form, which some people like the Battlegrounds. I mean, I like WoW Battlegrounds. I really do. But it's not Southshore versus
Nostalrius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we play a good version of the game?
Are you sure about that? Because they pretty much took all their
Wait.
code and ran and hit away.
Isn't there
I want to be
vanilla
known as a
WoW?
pirate server. Well, that's
Yeah,
what
that
you
has
are.
been an evolving dumpster fire over the last couple of
Hey,
weeks.
they
Yeah, but-
tried to be legit. They tried to talk to Blizzard, and then Blizzard was like, "No, we like our shitty version." And they're like,
Like,
"All right,
yeah.
fuck you.
Yeah,
That's
but
not
it's
what
like
your
Blizzard's
community
IP.
wants."
You don't know what you
Yeah,
want.
but
That's why I remember
The
them saying.
community doesn't want Blizzard's IP anymore.
No, I
They don't
I
like
can't.
their daddy anymore. They're having their rebellious face.
I like
they're in their
that
teeth.
segue, but it's not the next thing on the notes. So
Also, I know
Nice
the
try.
Pathfinder achievements are once. They're still bullshit. It's a bad way to do it. It's fucking awful. It is the worst way I've ever seen.
I actually,
like it.
and Frazzly in chat, that's who he's responding to. Chat room's been talking, and I actually like the way that WoW does their unlocks. But I'm of the old school mentality where I think people actually need to work to get their stuff.
Well, I didn't say it should be given to you. I'm just saying I think they do it shitty. They do it real bad.
I like rep grinds, to be honest.
Okay, you're
I
not
don't
everyone.
mind.
I mean, I remember spending hours farming those damn tunnel to, what is it, the Furball quest to get, turn in my feathers and my beads.
Furball.
My
It's not related
furballs.
to anything that has to
Riveting
do with
stuff.
flying, no.
Hey, it was good times, man. Good times.
I still think that exploring the area and doing all the quests and stories in the area should give you flying is a better method of doing it.
With that, all right, I want to hit on that real quick because that was one of the arguments people were making in Warlords when they tried to introduce flying there. And pretty much what they said was, like, what you're saying right there is what people were rebelling against in Warcraft because they're like, well, then what's the point, right? Like,
There was no port of anything in Warlords of Draenor because you sat in your fucking garrison the entire expansion.
regardless of that, a lot of it was they were like, hey, you have to collect all the treasure, you have to do all this stuff.
Well,
Then what's the point? What do I care about flying at that point? Because all the stuff that I want flying for doesn't help me anyway.
Also, because they did it poorly in Warlords of Draenor. They're not good at this anymore. They're bad.
Okay. I don't know. I don't play WoW, so.
Don't. That's my answer.
No, I, as a person that haven't played WoW from the beginning, feel like it's a waste of time because you're so far behind. There's just no way of catching up.
Yeah, there is. Pay $60.
Yeah, but that's stupid. I don't like buying levels.
No, of course not.
Let me pay to not play the game.
Isn't that the premise of most free-to-play games?
Yes.
All right, so Southshore versus Tarren Mill. I still haven't heard answers of how you, other than the stories, which is
Sacrilege.
I don't know. I actually think it'd be kind of neat. Like, they tried World PvP in Legion, and here's the problem with the World PvP in Legion. There is no problem, except server mentality. When you're signing up to be Horde or Alliance, you don't look for those. You know where you go? You go to that, what is that website? Gives you the WoW population. And you go, what server has the highest of Alliance? So I have a good chance of finding my roots.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?
Well, I play on Emerald Dream. So,
You're
Emerald
too.
Drama.
One of
You're
the
on
two.
Emerald Drama.
YouTube PvE.
But I'm saying
I
World
fixed your name. It's Emerald Drama.
Emerald Drama. All
Yeah,
right.
it is Emerald Drama because it is the World PvP place to be.
It's
And
the
even
World
it's kinda-
PvP RP place to be. You forgot that part. That's
Well,
why it's
why-
drama.
RPers
People take that
love
shit too seriously.
RPers love faction identity. I mean, it's no
They do.
surprise that it's an RP PvP server that has the best World PvP in the game.
Probably.
But even that is
Oh,
starting
hey.
to go to shit, and that's because of cross-realm zones.
I could talk about that. I know stuff about RP PvP. I did tons of that back in Star Wars when, Ilum was still a thing. And
I
such.
tried really hard. Ilum didn't even work.
No, it didn't. But we had open world PvP fun. Trust me. Like, and also before they made the whole instancing, like they closed off PvPers entirely from PvEers by instancing them separately. Now they're not in the same instance anymore. You can choose. We had so much fun.
That's similar to when Ultima Online switched its realms with the Trammel and the Felucca realms. Like Felucca was the original where it was open PvP anywhere you wanted, and then they added Care Bear realm, and then no one ever went to Felucca because it's like, why would I want to risk dying and losing all my stuff?
People are so boring that they don't want to die and get ganked. And
Didn't we just talk about that last episode? And you were all like, "I don't want to die. I don't want to lose all my stuff."
But we had areas, where you could turn on your tag or off your tag, which I really enjoy.
I'm with her that it depends. I think it should be a player's choice.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
forced upon you in any instance. I'm not saying I prefer one to the other. I'm just saying let people choose how they fucking want to play the game.
Well, that's kind of...
Or they can choose not to play the game if they don't like what it's about.
Well, that's how games die.
It's also how they do well.
Pretty sure games die...
Because people don't play them, and if you don't let them play them the way they want, then you don't get money.
Oh, I thought
from
it was
people
when Tanaka took over. Anyway, never mind. Anyway, sorry. You have something.
What?
We're
okay.
segueing.
Things.
We're segging?
We're seguing.
Yes,
Okay.
seg time.
Okay, we're going to talk about the most important news of the week that doesn't have to do with MMOs, which is Conan Exiles.
It's Arc Evolved.
New survival sandbox game has launched on early access, and for a bit.
Oh my goodness! Survival sandbox in early access. Who would have known?
Dethroned League of Legends
but Conan,
as the number one streamed game on Twitch, which was actually impressive. I'm pretty sure that had almost nothing to do with what appears to be a massive sponsored stream event, but I guess people were watching it anyway. And yeah, it looks like
it's
many other survival sandbox games, but I have not played any of these
character
games,
models.
and the reason is they never come out. And this one kind of sounds like they actually have a plan, and yeah, I don't know. So it looks like it's going to be halfway decent, and it's got an interesting setting.
I like the Conan setting, so I'm cool with that.
One thing that kind of caught my eye was that they're actually going to do different server rule types. I know a lot do this.
Are you sure that's what caught your eye?
Well, I know what
wasn't the full nudity that you
getting there. But one of the things is that they're actually doing like PVE servers, which is rare for that type of game, and I don't think I'd play on one, but it sort of means that they plan to have PVE that's actually interesting. And
well, that doesn't mean that. It just means you can actually... They're marketing to the people who want to play Rust but not get ganked in their sleep.
They might. Yeah. They might. But, I don't know. It sounds intriguing to me. But yeah, back to the most important part of this. There's a dong slider.
Finally, the sexism can end.
Oh, yes.
For years, women have boob sliders and butt sliders, but we can't adjust our packages. Not fair.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Power to you guys. Now you can finally have a horse-sized schlong if you want to.
So I guess
the complete opposite.
Or the opposite.
If you were part of our Dungeon Crawler Network Discord, you would have seen the amazing gifs of them going up and down.
Oh my god!
Yeah, well, they were all over Twitter. Yes, they bounce.
Oh my god, that's brilliant! I need to play this game now.
When you're up and down the slider, it just bounces. It's pretty great.
All right. So back off the silliness, other than the amazingness that is the dong slider.
I'm done. I'm getting it.
So, yeah, I don't know. It sounds interesting. It has good ideas. It looks cool, and that seems to be kind of the route that most Funcom games go. And don't get me, I really like this studio because they're usually trying things that are somewhat unique, but they run into what I like to call fun competence, where...
Are you coining that term right now?
No, I've been using this one for a while.
I feel like
this isn't even the first podcast I've used it on.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so my worry is, besides that it's a survival sandbox and that those never fucking come out, and I have no intention of buying into an early access survival sandbox.
Yeah.
If I play this
played-
game, it's going to be done.
I've played it. I played it when it was called Arc Evolved, and it's bad.
I played it when it was
People
called
really like
H1Z1, and it was
Artfall
worse.
Until,
Yeah.
surprise, the devs just, I don't know, just totally took a dump on their property and never released it.
Arc came out.
Despite charging for a DLC.
Ark has given out
Even though they
a
had-
DLC.
I don't think
but
it's out yet as full release.
No, it's an early
still
access.
beta.
They're just releasing paid DLC for it.
Yeah. It's in early. It's so that if things are broken, they have like, we're still in beta, guys. Chill out.
Yeah. So
I hate
Arc-
modern MMO development. That's all I'm gonna say. Is like, or any
this-
game development at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Survival sandboxes are probably the only genre that have it worse than MMOs when it comes to development.
I hate sandboxes and I hate survival games. So those are like the most boring fucking thing on the planet for me.
But yeah, the
But-
building component of this looks really interesting. The whole summoning a god to trash people's buildings part looks pretty interesting.
I mean, we'll see how it goes, but ultimately it's going to boil down to if people who I don't give two shits about aren't playing it, I'm not going to care about it because those are only fun in a group.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Agreed.
and
but
like,
that's why we have friends.
like you said, Conan Exiles, it has a nice IP behind it. Sort of. Conan, the Hyborian Age, kind of really wrecked that IP. I see you down there. Hold on. Okay. It really wrecked the IP, so I don't really know if that's going to hold up much weight. But there's so many survival sandboxes. We got H1Z1. We got Ark. We've got...
There's no released ones.
Yeah, that's the point I'm getting at. Conan
Yeah, and I was like,
Exiles,
finish- if you,
Dark
this
and
could be
Light.
the first one to come out. They have that opportunity. Oh god, Dark and Light.
Yeah, no, they're all... Yeah, there are all these games that are trying to come out that are essentially the same game engine built, just changing the setting and throwing you into it. Honestly, I think the first one that actually officially launches will have it'll be the Minecraft of builders, right? Like, that's the only survival sandbox that will ever have any kind of success. All others will fail. Taru, go ahead, your thoughts.
Okay, I was going to say that I have no experience with the Conan the Barbarian universe other than watching like the movie featuring Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I would probably just be... That is the best movie
I
ever.
haven't
What is the riddle of steel?
That's my experience.
Should I watch this movie?
Yes.
You might be
should.
too young for that movie, but that's okay.
You should watch it. It's hilarious.
Oh,
but-
okay. It's
Hey,
one of
there's
those.
nothing better.
It's Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Conan
And
the
Darth
Barbarian.
Vader as Thosel. What is his name? Damn, Thosel Doom, I think his name is. Oh, what is it? I can't remember.
So, used
Anyway,
to be- yeah, no, and so I'm not excited for the universe, honestly, but it looks pretty.
see, now I like the universe of Conan. Like, and I'm a big lore guy. Conan, I mean, as far as fantasy universes go, it's pure human. It's kind of, there's no
Boring.
real fantasy races or anything of that nature. But the books were brutal. Like, more brutal. The movie was kind of silly. Most of the
Oh, yeah.
movies were silly. But I think a lot of that's because Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it.
There was so much punching animals. I don't get it. Have you seen the excessive amount of punching animals in that movie?
That's why they're good.
Sometimes you just gotta punch an animal.
He just punches everything.
Here, I'm just
I kicked him
gonna
up.
pull my cat over here.
Oh, poor kitty, leave it alone.
She fights back. I love her. I'm sorry. I give you a kiss. Yeah. Now she's like, not on camera. Dear heaven. Now she's mad at me. Oh dear. All right, just throw it
Anyway.
on the desk. No,
I think that concludes that.
Yeah.
Dong Slider.
Yay!
Dong Slider. Definitely something that's
silly
needed.
fight.
The innovation this genre badly needs.
Yeah.
Well, with the amount of Korean MMOs with the insane boob physics, it's about time we get some dick physics, okay? So
I mean,
fine
I
with
can't
this.
wait to see people bounce around. If you know what I mean. It'll be majestic.
Speaking of dick physics, Final Fantasy XIV inspires a new live-action Japanese show. And get this. The title of the show, translated in English, is Daddy of Light.
Oh yeah, that makes
Not
it
all
so
of our
much worse.
Before we get on to Daddy of Light, I actually like this idea, like, because it expands the MMO genre into more of like, this is a cool thing. It's kind of like the early days of World of Warcraft when you'd walk around with a hoodie on and someone else would notice you and go, hey, that's cool. And I like being connected to my games from other sources, right? You know, like reading books, anything to get me connected back into the world. Live action TV show, very cool. English translation, not so much.
Bad choice.
Bad choice. Bad choice.
And the topic of the show actually sounds really interesting as well. It's not like, what was that anime that everybody says went to shit like halfway through that was about like a guild or something? I don't watch anime.
There was
The Guild?
No,
wait,
an anime. It's
I don't
actually
know,
good.
man.
That was a YouTube thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a Felicia
like, what the fuck are
Day
you talking
YouTube
about?
thing. There's a couple of them. Are you like Sword Art Online was one that was good
Horizon,
for the first half.
like Log Horizon.
That's the one.
Log
Sword Art
Horizon,
Online.
yeah.
There you go. That's the one. But yeah, it's not going to be like that where they're like, here's this guy that's playing an MMO. Hooray! It's about
It's
a
about,
father and son
yeah.
bonding over a game, which is, I think, something that could be explored in a really interesting way.
And from what I understand, it's not. It's going to be live action and actual in-game graphics kind of deal. So it's like them in the game, playing the game, and then them interacting with each other outside of the game. So it's more.
Hopefully
gonna be
they do a fake rendition of the game that looks a lot better.
And you mean updated past DirectX 9 textures?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. complaining about the graphics on DirectX 9.
No,
Well,
pretty much what
no,
they're going to do at that point
The
is...
updated ones still look really bad.
I know, but it was entertaining to me. It's like, man, these textures are terrible. Are you on DirectX 9 or 10? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that helps.
DX10 is almost not better at all.
Yeah, well, Stormblood's
cannot
dropping
tell.
the console PS3.
No,
So,
well, yeah, and while we're not talking about that, but the PS3 console, that really held you back. So now that I expect that to get a lot better. But
Yeah.
regardless of that
Fucking
fact, the meta topic of I like the fact
Hey,
that this
hold on. Dot Hack was good, and it will always be good, and it was good forever. Fuck you.
Okay, that was from the chat room. Someone mentioning Dot
Oh,
Hack.
I was confused there for a second.
So for anyone who's listening to this podcast,
you need to preface it when you're talking about the chat.
No,
Be
I'm
like,
very passionate about that one.
just be like, Fraisley just said something.
Mm-mm.
Doc Hack
No,
wasn't good.
Not if
Fuck
it's
you,
Dot Hack.
Fraisley.
Straight to rage.
I understand that, and these poor podcast listeners are gonna have no idea what's
No,
going on.
no
Yeah, they're
trigger
gonna be
warning.
so
Just straight
confused.
to rage.
Anyway,
I was
continuing.
gonna translate the bird
The
and rage.
meta topic of the father and son bonding, it's something that's actually really cool for this generation because it's not something that, like, my generation, like, my dad never understood that I like gaming. Okay? It's really funny now is he's, like, my biggest fan. Like, he tells people about DCN. He's handing out little slips of paper with our URL to people.
Aw,
I'm
that's so
super looking
adorable.
forward to it because,
I love
like
my
I said,
dad, but...
I'm super looking forward to it because, like I said, I played Asheron's Call with my dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
it appeals to like its audience, obviously.
Yeah,
Which
I
is
don't
very,
think
very
it's
cool.
just Final Fantasy 14. This could apply to a lot of people. Like, even my
Yeah.
generation, with my son, when he grows up, if he likes gaming, that's going to be great because it's going to be a way that I can bond with him. Something that I didn't quite have with my dad growing up. More so I do now, as I'm getting older and whatnot. But there's a generational gap with people of my age versus people who were born even 10 years later because gaming didn't really become mainstream up until about a decade ago. I mean, if you really think about it, it was about a decade ago, maybe a little longer, 15 years.
Like my first experience with like mainstream online gaming, at least, was WoW. I don't think any other MMO was as widely like welcomed into culture as WoW was. But at least when I was younger.
No, it's very
WoW was
true.
WoW was the thing that made MMOs mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, because MMOs, once upon a time, I remember when I was in college, WoW wasn't out yet, and, talking with my hyper nerdy friends about farming this moss-covered tunic in EverQuest 1, and you could just tell, like, well, I'm loving it, but, someone else walks by, I push him in the bushes like like an ugly girlfriend or something. Go, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
You're like, no, cars.
Anywhere that's late and let's go out on a date, but anywhere dark, like planetariums, so no one can see us, kind of deal. It was kind of like a hidden thing at once upon a time that you were just embarrassed that was something you did. But WoW made gaming, or at least MMO gaming, mainstream. And then, not even talking about MMO gaming, but it started to ramp up with the esports and things like that. Now it's more widely accepted, where it wasn't so much.
Now you were considered a complete geek and like outcast if you were playing games that and stuff like that. Like, unless it was Super Mario, for example, or something like that. People
I
were
played
like,
Magic the Gathering at lunch in high school.
He's a nerd now.
I bet you had so many friends.
I played football as well, so I didn't really give two fucks.
Okay, I see.
I don't care. My boss kind of makes fun of me
Made up
now
for
because
that.
I just started getting into tabletop gaming, and I do it at lunch at work. And
Nerd.
actually, it's really cool.
Pen and paper is cool. Sorry, how dare you?
All I know is that
I've done it once now.
I'm not a very good-looking guy, but I'm the best.
I think I ruined it for everybody.
So.
It was not a good time.
Oh no.
I feel pretty good when I go in that room because I feel like a superstar. Because like everyone else in there is just like super hyper nerdy, and I'm like, I know I am, but I look
Because
like
everybody
Brad
is a
Pitt when I
founder
walk
of
in
a podcast network that's about being nerdy.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Correct.
I bet like he's the guy in like the nerd group that's like, I'm the cool guy,
that's
and
right.
then everyone is like that.
Wherever I go,
I feel like
know
I should wear a
deep down
top hat when I
inside-
walk into my MMOs. You might not know this, but I'm a very important person in
And then tip
Amarillo.
your fedora.
All I know is wherever I go, I am a big angry Viking, and that's all that matters to me.
All
I'm a
right.
tiny angry Viking, so
All right.
yeah.
Now, we still need to talk about this translation. Broden, why don't we talk about this a little bit? What's up with this Daddy of Light?
Daddy of light.
Why would I
We're
know?
gonna go there.
I don't know. I just feel like you would know this.
It's
sort of thing.
Japan,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, that's true. So obviously,
Played 14. The female Makode started in schoolgirl outfits and short skirts.
Don't you
Be
complain
their
about
daddy of light.
that's the one
Yeah,
cool thing
feel
about
proud.
this game. Any
that. Yeah, I know.
Swaggelos.
Like Daddy of light. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a very sweet show, and it has a very sweet background because I read that it was like from a blog or something about two
Yeah, it's
people
about a
bonding
blog
in
and
real
its
life.
experience and stuff. I do, however, I'm with Aggelos. I really hope it fixes the translation into father of light other than daddy of light.
Yeah, because Daddy just sounds a little, that's
Japan,
vaguely
man.
sexual.
I was about to say, I'm waiting for someone to say "daddy" sounds sexual because I don't want to be the one to bring that up.
Oh, Daddy.
You're welcome. Sorry, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Japan, man.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't put it by him.
Everybody
I mean,
make your assumptions now and snap judgments.
There-
Don't fix that judgments. God, terrible. Can we
Hold on. Because of Japan, why this is such a big deal. They recently just opened a video store, a virtual reality store, and I'm waiting for Sorry to get back for this because he has to hear this. I hope he's got headphones on. Good. They just
My dog is like a, you know what it is? It's like, oh, let me out. And then like 5 minutes later, let me back in.
Let me out,
back
Daddy.
in."
Let me out, Daddy.
No, don't say it like that. That's no.
Well, that's why we want the translation fixed.
Yeah.
But coming from Japan, they just opened a VR store, or VR, I don't even know if I want to call it a store, called Soft on Demand. I don't know if you guys heard about this. But it's essentially...
VR porn, what?
It is! You actually
Oh,
get...
it is.
Yes!
No, I haven't heard about it, but I mean, it's Japan and it's VR. What do you think's going to come out of it?
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
that's
but
a
it's
good
literally,
point.
you go into a little room,
Are we going to talk about teledildonics? Because that's my favorite word.
put on a
What?
headset.
You know what my favorite word is? Ovipositor.
Oh,
you know
and
what
by
that
the
is?
way, I wanna note
Google it.
this from the chat. I don't hate Japan. I'm wearing a shirt that's about Japan. I'm going to Japan in my honeymoon. I don't hate Japan.
Oh, we're not hating
No,
Japan. We're just saying it's
They're
weird.
just
we,
pervert.
You love
They are
Japan.
perverts.
Like everyone should love Japan
But
because they're
They're
crazy.
they're just
and fun.
perverted sometimes.
I just really think
Yeah.
they missed out on an opportunity. Why would it be soft on demand? Shouldn't it have been hard on demand?
Hard on demand because I think that one's probably already taken.
Doing
Yeah.
still water everywhere.
If you think hard on demand, it wasn't a domain
Yeah,
or
that's probably-
taken
Oh my
It's
somewhere.
already
God.
taken, copyrighted. In fact, I think I own the rights to it. Anyway,
Let me check.
That's
Yes.
in fact the right for DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com's sex toy foundry.
that's how we're sponsored.
We
And
should
by
do
the
a
way,
Teledildonics podcast.
Ajax Duo, I want to thank you so much for that awesome comment, and I took a snapshot of it because it's going to be part of this episode, so thank you.
Oh, God.
Swaggelos walks in, sparkling smile. Everyone is like, Senpai, notice me.
So we get this.
I know I
He's
don't
my new
do any
hero.
of
I
that.
love this guy. He's
I
awesome.
don't do any of that with you. I can tell you that.
Why
right
do
now.
you think I'm dating?
It's my job to butt heads with you. In fact, so
Yep.
He's my new hero. I love this guy.
I think that's why you keep me around is because I like yelling at you.
It's true. All right.
Yelling at nice.
On to the big news.
No, not yet. Broden.
Oh, my God.
Broden, it's your time.
Oh, yeah.
For what?
The Final Fantasy Live Escape.
Live escape
Oh,
room.
yeah. So Final Fantasy is also, or Square Enix has teamed up with another company. I forget their name. It's like Scrap or something weird. To do a live escape room. So if anybody who doesn't know what an escape room is, it's essentially, you go, you get a time limit, you have to solve puzzles and riddles to get out of a room. And they're usually
this is a
themed
real
based
life
on-
Prison?
Yeah.
This isn't Meat Space.
No, it's Meat Space. It's a real thing. And
I
they're
didn't know
teaming
that.
up
when
with
you
a company.
okay.
Yeah, and they're coming to the U.S. with it. Even it's going to be in a select company or cities, bleh, along, each coast and some in Texas and such. I know it's New York, several cities in California, Houston, Dallas.
Score!
Texas.
Another victory for the coastal elites.
So kind of everywhere.
That matters.
And it's going to be a 60-minute escape room. I don't have a whole lot of other details than that because you don't really want to leak too much details on it. But it is going to be Trial of Bahamut, so it's going to be the Coil of Bahamut raid based, themed on that.
Okay, that sounds really cool, actually.
No, it does, and I've done a few of the escape rooms because Latuna really likes them. They're fun. They're puzzles. It's you and 6 or 5 other people, so a group of 6.
Isn't this the whole premise of Saw?
Yeah, except you don't.
Except you
solve
don't actually
anything.
fucking
You
get
don't
murdered.
actually die at the end?
Yeah,
All right.
I bet there's more.
or
it
there's
is-
no
yeah,
I might
like
have to go
shit
check it
hidden
out.
inside of your body. It's less.
All
morbid.
right. So you're saying
We're
I
fine.
lose points
We're
if I kill the
family-friendly.
people who are with me?
Probably.
Probably, and
Gotcha.
probably go to jail.
Gotcha.
Probably.
I had to bring it down dark just because that's what I do. And this is a dungeon anyway.
But yeah, they're going to be.
We're not that type of dungeon. We're
Yeah,
a
we're all
dungeon with
types of
loot.
dungeon. Yeah.
It's going to be in a few of those cities. I can look them up if you really are interested. But
loot
it's- like I
is
said, it's going to be
knowledge.
those main ones, and it's going to be one of the 60-minute 6-group ones. I'm interested to see if they actually give you an in-game item if you complete it as well.
Considering it's tied to Final Fantasy XIV, that would be really cool. And again, going back to the Daddy of Light, having ways in the real world to connect. No, I mean in a way. I'm not in the porno way, but
No,
In-
but I can't.
having a real life connection to a game you're playing is something that is really cool. And one of the reasons why I like mobile apps so much for games because it's an outside connection to a world that I'd rather be playing in anyway than real life.
I love when World of Warcraft added their Facebook game app.
Yeah.
Facebook game app. There's an okay. I
Don't
didn't know
even
that.
bait it. Don't even bait it.
It's sort of like
Oh wait, are you trying
It's-
to trigger people?
yeah, it's sort of like the Garrison, but not as bad. But it's still like you feel like I better log on every couple minutes, do my missions.
Oh,
Except
And
you can
if
do it
people
from
want
the
to
app.
hear, more about the escape room or any of the other Final Fantasy stuff next week, we're going to be doing the Chocobo Raiders. We'll be going more in depth in that and not podcast, especially with Latuna. Like I said, she's the big escape room person, so she'll do a better job than me of explaining it.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's one thing that we definitely wanted to add in here is that, yeah, the Dungeon Crawler Network is more than just the Dungeon Crawlers, obviously, because this is pretty early on with us. We do MMO-specific shows, one of them being Chocobo Raiders, A Realm Recast, and that's every other Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. We record that live right here on twitch.tv/Dungeon Crawler Network. So definitely check that out this next Wednesday and to go more in depth on all that Final Fantasy.
I'm the host of it. Please come give me love.
He's very
Notice me,
needy.
senpai.
Notice me, senpai.
I don't care if you notice me. Just come give me love.
You're not Swaggelos, okay?
Okay, yeah.
I love Swaggelos. That's like the best thing ever. I even took a screen cap of that because that's amazing. Swaggelos. My hero. Jesus. Anyway, one last thing before we get off this Square Enix train, because I do want to.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna mention it in passing.
There's not a whole lot to mention, but
there isn't.
They're teaming up with they're teaming up with Marvel to make some games, but we don't know what kind of game or whatever's going on there. There's not a whole lot of news. There's just a bunch of rumor mill. I don't think it's going to be another MMO because 14's doing just fine for them.
Yeah. They wouldn't. Why would they want to diversify their market when their market's so strong?
What I think would be cool, because if you look at it, or if you go into Square Enix's like store and see all the different like superheroes imagined by them kind of stuff, it's mainly the DC lineup. But if they like do their own unique designs or anything like that, I think that'd be pretty cool, because the DC lineup, like Batman's on there and a whole bunch of other characters, they're really cool looking. So
yeah, go for it.
I would love for them to make something along the lines of Borderlands, esque.
In the Marvel universe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that it looks like Borderlands, but like it's a group shooter sort of with some RPG elements to it. It would be cool.
Could be like a Marvel Destiny clone.
See,
except just by Square Enix, it would be good.
Well, here's my thing with Square Enix. And I'm not really saying anything bad about Square Enix, because I do love Square Enix. When I heard this announcement, like, because they were kind of teasing it ahead of time, going, we got a big announcement coming, and I was thinking, honestly, when I heard that big announcement...
They timed it poorly. That's my opinion.
And Broden, you know what I thought it was going to be? I thought it was going to be more of that 30th anniversary, because it's the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy now.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They timed it poorly.
And I'm thinking
we got a huge announcement on our anniversary. I was teaming up with Marvel, and everyone was like, what?
Exactly. That was my reaction, because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we're going to hear like all these games are remaking, we're getting high def, we have 15 new games coming out, and they're all remakes of the old stuff, like high def. That would have been something I've been like, wow, Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally coming out. Yeah, right. All this random stuff that I was expecting.
But there is, by the way, I just looked it up. There is some verbiage in the announcement that makes it sound MMO-y.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think the Destiny thing could work very well as well, although it might tread too closely to Marvel Heroes. But the exact thing was a universe gamers can play in for years to come.
Yeah.
And that could mean a lot, but
it's very MMO-esque.
It does.
Yeah. Usually anything that has players playing it for long periods of time means multiplayer.
Now, it's not... Yeah. My hesitation is because Square Enix makes these JRPGs, and Marvel is so not a JRPG that...
Okay, but Square Enix does a bunch of other things that aren't JRPGs. Square Enix owns a bunch of shit.
Square Enix isn't actually doing much with this. It's another company that did... what was the game?
I'm just saying, like, at the same instance, Square Enix technically owns...
Eidos, right?
Eidos, when they own, so all of the Deus Ex stuff, they own all of the Just Cause games.
They owned all the Thief property when Thief was good.
Exactly, so I think we're going to get a decent Marvel game out of it.
I hope so. I mean, Marvel's not really the universe of choice for me. I know it's kind of the American stigma, because superheroes are almost exclusively an American thing. Like, that's... hey, there you go. But I've never really got into it. I like fantasy. That's what I like.
I don't know. I like the darker, grittier feel of DC when it comes to the villains. At least I don't know. It's just a personal choice.
DC's movies are terrible, but at least I'm not the only one that actually likes. I don't think Grim Dark.
Yeah, no, the movies are horrible. I mean,
all the movies and everything that has come out of the cinematic universe of DC is bad, including the shows, in my opinion. That said, they have good characters.
Yeah,
they have really well written villains and like some interesting characters. And villains are a big part of why I like watching stuff. If they have a really good villain, I'll watch the shit out of something and enjoy it.
I feel like the only superhero properties we've seen with God, we're so far off track with good villains were like Daredevil, the Netflix.
I was going to say the Netflix series that Marvel's has been doing
series is very good.
Like the Daredevil even wasn't.
Daredevil
completely carried that. Jessica Jones, amazing. Like everybody involved.
David Tennant,
really
David
good.
Tennant
I would say
Jessica Jones.
With Daredevil, I'm inclined to say that the heroes didn't have great chemistry and like they completely got carried.
I thought, in all honesty, Fisk was good in Daredevil. This is not a podcast about Marvel Netflix shows, though.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, sidetracked.
Let's go talk about the most important news from the most important game.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of the most important game, I'm just gonna
get ready. Wow. There we go.
So how many crown crates did it get you guys to get that shirt?
15, actually.
None of them.
Anyway, the big news that we want to talk about here, and again, for more in-depth analysis on this, because I'm going to be going crazy on this on our ESO-centric show, Tales of Tamriel, records Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out here. Same location, same Elder Scrolls channel, apparently. All right, so earlier this week, the Elder Scrolls Online Twitter decided they were going to tease out just a picture of a volcano, like a little GIF and whatnot.
Everyone knew.
And, well, here's the thing.
They were.
We knew. But the Elder Scrolls Online kind of pulled the rug out from all of us by announcing the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, the first full-fledged expansion in the game that will be coming out on June 6th. Now, many of us in the ESO community, that includes me, Asari over at Tamriel Foundry, Tarua, who is somewhat of a RPer, very heavy, and was also part of ESO RP podcast back in the day, knew of the existence of Vardenfell for months. It was data mined, and we even covered it extensively on Tales of Tamriel, several episodes. I think Asari was on that show too, to be honest. So we covered Vardenfell because we knew it was coming. But if you know anything about the Elder Scrolls Online, when they went by to play, they did away with the idea of expansions as MMOs sort of know it and went to a DLC structure where if you bought the game, you had to buy all DLCs unless you were subscribed. We were all sort of assuming that this was just going to be another one of their DLC that you purchased.
But a little bit baffled because of the size of it when we data mined it. We were like, wow, this is bigger than Orsinium. And they said they were never going to do anything. So we were like, how are they going to break this up into pieces like they did with Craglorn or what?
Well, and I think that's what even on the show, we thought episode, what was it, 120? No, it was even earlier than that. I forget what episode it was. It was a while ago. We talked about... I did say I need a signal when they need to talk, and she's just going nuts. I'm waiting for her to get the glow sticks and start.
I don't have any.
Doing a rave dance or something.
It's fine. You can ignore me for this section. I don't have anything nice to say.
He's seething.
Yeah,
it's a shitty game. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, Broden.
Poor Broden.
Breaking our heart.
It's a bad game. I don't care.
Okay. Monetization is not the best thing in the world.
No.
And I know we're not fond of it.
Yeah.
Whether or not Broden likes it, I
monetization outside of pay-to-win games, I would say. I think.
I mean, other than cosmetics being
bold statement to make, though. I haven't played every MMO. Oh, except for SWOTOR. Sorry, missed.
Anyway, as I was saying, we kind of knew with how big the zone was going to be, we did think it was going to be split. Like, there's like no way in creation they're doing this all at once. But it is a full-fledged expansion that is a retail box, so you're going to have to buy it if you want to play it. Takes us back to Morrowind, adds a new class called the Warden, which is nature magic, and you get an awesome bear mount.
And ice magic.
And ice magic. And you get a bear companion.
It was in the original game.
I played it.
Yeah. And then it never made it to live, so it's back.
Yay! Or no, who knows? I don't know.
If anyone...
that does explain. I don't know how deep into ESO we want to get since this is the general MMO, but it does MMO podcast. It does explain the changes to the ice staff, making that a tanking weapon. Since now we have an ice tank.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
No,
but I still want the shield-shaped crossbows that shoot shields that me and Galax were talking about.
Tarua.
Just when more weapons become different things.
I just want to say one thing about it, like, because, we're not going to get super into it, and that is, like, I knew that it was Wardenfell, because Wardenfell was even mentioned in the latest DLC, not in the latest DLC, like the 2 dungeons, but, like, the Dark Brotherhood, they mentioned something going on in Wardenfell, and we were like, yeah, it's coming. In
an Orsinium they did, I believe.
Did it?
Right? At the end, didn't they talk about Sothasils?
Spoilers, but maybe.
Yep. All right, so probably the most important thing that I really need someone to do for me, because I didn't quite save it, I just had it as a snipping tool, is to find me my Swaggelos comment and snip it out for me.
Oh, wait, it might
Don't do it.
It might be gone.
He doesn't earn it. He doesn't deserve it.
Seriously, that must come back.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yep, I refreshed. It's gone. Ha!
No more Swaggelos for you.
I hate my life.
Get wrecked.
I do. I hate this cat. I'm going to strangle it. The biggest thing I noticed when I haven't played it yet, obviously, but the Warden, like, when you played this back in the day, it felt a lot like Source. Like, I think the reason why they took it out was because
it was so similar.
It was so similar, there really wasn't much of a difference between Warden and it didn't have the bear pet back in the day, if I remember correctly. So
they're like, oh, we'll make it a druid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely been reworked. I've heard some internal stuff that this is I don't know what I can say on that. But yeah, I've heard a little bit about like what devs were working on this, and it's definitely sort of someone's baby who was not a part of the team, back in pre-alpha. So I think it's been redone completely.
It would have had to be, because what it was before, I mean, you already experienced it, sort of. If you go out and fight any of the goblin monsters that are out and about in the world, you experience, they cast, like half of them are known as shamans or whatever, and that's essentially what the Warden was. I mean,
okay.
I mean, even if you data mine their spells, it even says like monster_warden. Like.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I feel like ZeniMax is super smart. Isn't it like 15-year anniversary or something of
Morrowind, yes.
Yeah.
I gotta interject here. You just said ZeniMax was smart. That's an oxymoron.
No, in marketing. Like, they're smart.
ZeniMax just won $50 million.
To Morrowind fanboys, which are insane and everywhere.
I've actually seen very, very mixed and polarized responses on the entire expansion launch.
Everyone wanted, instead of Skyrim remastered, they wanted Morrowind remastered.
Mm-hmm. So, and now they're just like, no, play our shitty MMO.
Yeah.
Play Morrowind. Which, a lot of people are not happy about.
Well, the original Morrowind didn't have
happy
lockboxes.
about it than not.
I have seen a 50-50, if not leaning more towards negative. I don't know if my social feed is just filled with more people who hate it, but that is what I have generally seen.
I think you're more swayed. I've heard nothing.
No, because I don't interact with anybody involved in ESO in either way or either.
We can just stick a big definition of confirmation bias in the center of the screen here.
I mean, it is true. Like, that being aside, I know.
I don't think I've seen anybody that's like, wow, this looks terrible, other than the people who are irrationally upset about the fact that they have to pay for an expansion.
That's true. That's the only negative I've seen, at least within the ESO community. Like, even on the ESO announcement
on the forums.
The forums are one, and also the live stream, which is normally horrible. When it was announced, people were just insanely hyped
in awe, yeah.
Yeah,
like I've not seen that positive response in a very long time.
Yeah, we were hyped, and we don't even like the game.
Well,
it was Nari, wasn't it?
Not for me. I thought she looked terrible in that trailer. Like, great.
She doesn't look very Dunmer-esque.
She looks sickly. She just looked like a sickly person instead of a Dunmer.
Yeah, a little bit.
Also, I saw Steven Mesner, who writes with PC Gamer, I hope, made something like, "This is the worst assassin ever. Like, let's just drop down into the middle of these guys dramatically and look around to announce our presence before we go in."
No, but the thing
Like,
is,
the whole premise of the trailer was ridiculous.
No, but it's meant to signify, because Morag Tong in itself is meant to instill some sort of fear in people, and if you hear that someone from Morag Tong is near you, or there's someone in your presence that's Morag Tong, you don't fuck with them.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're actively looking to kill somebody, maybe you should just shoot them from far away with an arrow.
You could do that, but that would make for a cool trailer.
Yeah, that's basically what it came down to.
With that being said, like, I know some people didn't like the way Naruto looked in the trailer, but
I had the same complaint.
The person who actually who helped develop her, I follow him on Twitter. He's a really cool guy. Pretty much said, I don't want to comment on the but the trailer was a blur trailer, so it was a separate company made it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Sounds like more BS excuses.
Yeah.
Well,
The trailer was
At
made
least
by
it's not
people
Daddy
that-
of Light, right? I mean,
Yeah.
That actually looks good. You're right.
I don't know. I think it's gonna turn into a porno. Like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we're hearing
So
some
what-
porn music.
But what Swagelos is saying...
Even if it's porn, it's going to be better.
The trailer was made by somebody who didn't play the Elder Scrolls games, and it showed.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly.
They were probably given a premise like, there's a Dark Elf.
Well, I mean, even if you look at it, it's the same people when you look at the Imperial the Three Alliances trailer, and they got to the Argonians, how the Argonians looked in that trailer, they're identical to what they look like in this trailer, and they don't look like what they look like in game.
Yeah.
Really?
That's because
thought the Argonians looked fine.
I honestly don't think ZeniMax is a game that cares about its community. They care about the Crown Store and you making money for them.
I actually disagree.
I disagree. They flew a bunch of people out from all over the world to E3. And
That doesn't mean anything. That's 50 crown crates.
No, it's actually I have to disagree. Broden doesn't really talk with these guys, but I've interacted with a lot of them a lot.
I've seen their business practices, and I don't think they give two shits about you, just your money.
Yeah, that's a little... I think there's a difference between, like, the shareholders and ZeniMax.
Go ahead.
I feel like there's a difference in certain things, and having played a game where there's definitely no care about the community, I can tell you that ESO is much less of like just money grubbing, but it's still there, and it's still very. I'm not. I'm doing everything I can. Don't say the word.
I need that as a clip too, by the way.
Yeah, someone hide that from Zealot.
But I can't. But having played a game for 5 years that it has been completely ignoring its community from start to finish, to going into ESO, at least at the beginning, they have a good dialogue with their community, but they made some questionable decisions. Like
I think they might have cared about their community when they were a sub-based model. Now they are buy to play. I don't think they care anymore.
Inside the box.
Vogue, you uncultured Philistine. No, outside of monetization, though, they really do seem to genuinely listen to the community. When you look at like the massive.
So why can't you get any more than? Why can't you get any more than one mount in the game?
Monetization.
Yeah.
I just said outside of it.
I mean, that's how it goes. Monetization policies.
Like, I mean, how many games have you seen do something like, well, basically our entire end game sucks, so we're going to remove veteran ranks, flatten everything out, do one Tamriel, add a champion system.
Any game that wants to survive as it's failing.
Yeah, and how many have done it? How many have actually done the turnaround that ESO did?
Well, yeah, but it's not caring about the community. It's caring about the fact that the game that they have invested money in is failing.
I mean, if you're listening to the community, it can be both.
Yeah, I mean, there are people.
You're trying to ascribe malice to it, which is something that there's no evidence for or against.
Yeah, but have you met?
But what I see is that the community said something and they did it, And I'm generally inclined to give them goodwill on that instead of, being cynical.
But,
I think a company listening to its
listening
should be applauded rather than going, "Oh, they just did that because they wanted."
I think a company.
We don't need to ascribe negative motives to them doing a good thing.
I'll just ascribe negative motives to everything because I think a company who has a game that is dying, thus it went off the submodel because it was failing. Changing its game to the people who want to play it, already playing it, is a business model and a good business move.
Actually, I'm going to have to interject there with the whole... I honestly don't think it was going off the submodel because it was failing. It was actually increasing its player base during that time. It was the backlash from the Xbox community.
It wasn't increasing anything because, increasing from 100 to 200 doesn't mean shit in that kind of submodel.
Over to you. Hopefully I'm pointing in the right direction.
The reason why they started increasing was that, the reason why they had such a horrible reputation to begin with was the launch. The launch was horrifying, and in the month to follow, everything was just a mess. It was not playable. I didn't touch the game for half a year because it was just that bad, and that was the experience that almost everyone that played during that time had. And then it continued for a year of just them not listening and not fixing things, and it was a mess. They released it too early, I think, or something. And, and
actually, is that whole year?
It's a different game now. It's
they
an entirely different game.
They had to push a lot of their stuff back. It wasn't for that entire year. They did nothing but listen to the community. But a lot of their plans of we're going to develop new content was on hold because they're like, we got to fix the game.
The game wasn't ready to be released at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No.
It was a good example of probably a corporate entity going, you need to release it now.
Right.
And even then though, that's why the submodel didn't do well for them is because it didn't get big enough. It was failing as a submodel, so they had to get off of it.
But even before that point, the amount of ire that came from the Xbox community because they have to pay for Xbox Plus, when it was first announced that it was coming out that way, they're like, so we're going to have to pay for 2 subs now?
And it wasn't even that, but the amount of ire from a lot of people.
There's a bit of truth there, though. When I quit the game right before it came out, one of my big points was this has the scent of free-to-play, of a planned free-to-play transition 6 months in, and I pretty much nailed it. I thought I was being hyperbolic. And I think one of the reasons was that the consoles really just weren't going to accept that. But yeah, you saw movement coming in. They started putting in they moved in a cash shop at the last minute on a subscription game, and started talking about
not just
cash shop releases.
Cash shop. One of the biggest cash shops on the MMO market.
Well, not at the time. They put
now,
in the. Yes, we're not talking about now. They put in. They put in the Imperial Race thing, and then they had that as a paywall, and then we complained about that, and they said it's not going to be a paywall. You won't be able to buy this after launch. And then same thing with the Explorer Pack, by the way. And then that wasn't true. So I think, and I don't blame the community managers for that. I think there was, anybody who's worked in a company knows how conflicting information in a corporate environment knows how that happens. But it was rough, launch, and all the signs were there, and I think they were going for free to play before launch. But I think they knew they weren't going to do super hot because it was a mess.
It was a mess. It was the worst mess I've seen. I people flying through the air, botting the shit out of everything. It was so bad. It was so ugly. My boyfriend lost his account, essentially, for a gold farmer. It was just we weren't going to touch that game again. Kind of bad. And that was the story for a lot of my friends.
And that's the other thing, is they went and developed an expansion pack that everybody has to buy, and there are still major glitches that are in this game that are, the login glitch still exists, that you can't get around. They haven't fixed it. Instead, they're making more ways for you to spend your money.
I have to do a jab at Broden. This coming from a guy who loves a game that pretty much had to completely shut down because it was shit.
Yeah, 1.0 was terrible. I'm not going to defend 1.0.
That is true, though. Actually, these are the 2 games that have done the big overhaul.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to defend 1.0 at all. 2. I played 1.0.
And I respect them both for that.
Honestly, and I actually heard someone talk this. This is actually really true. I think the only reason why Final Fantasy XIV survived as an MMO was because of the number title. If this was Final Fantasy Online, it'd have been shut down at 1.0. There would have been no 2.0. But Square Enix, as an IP company, has a motto that, you know, their Final Fantasy franchise is very precious to them. But if it was like a one-off, like fucking Final Fantasy Mobius or whatever the hell mobile games, if it wasn't part of their original number titles, one of the reasons why 11 is still going is because it's part of their number title, and they said at no point will our number titles be unavailable.
That seems like another theory from the prestigious Sphincter think tank, where someone just like ripping ideas out.
No, that was from them. That was from them. That was an issue from their president. I don't think they were like, the only reason we fixed it was because it had a number in the name. No,
I don't think that's literally the case. They invested a shit ton of money, and to save a game that you've invested money in is a smart idea. And they listened to the community because the game was dying. Same shit I said about ESO.
But it's listening to the community when they do it.
I'm not going to lie.
It was a business practice because 1.0 was terrible.
Tara, what was your point?
I'm not going to lie and say that like MMO is a perfect Elder Scrolls is a perfect MMO, and like their dev team is perfect and everything is rainbows and sunshines, because there is a really bad exploit that has been in the game, which is, you know, still not dealt with, which is game breaking.
There's a bunch of shit like that.
Yeah.
PvP doesn't work.
And I did see a lot of. I saw a lot of people in the chat when it was released and when it was announced that, you know, how about instead of doing this, you fix your game? How about it? Like a couple of times I saw that, and that is how a lot of people feel. But at least it's new content. I'm not playing the game doing PvP, so I don't frankly give a flying fuck about PvP. So like the reason why I'm not playing the game at the moment is because the content was so stagnant and non-existent that I just didn't find enjoyment in it anymore. So I went away from it, and this adds content
expansion as well, so that they can do a big drop of content, since that apparently.
Well, I'd rather them fix their fucking game before they make more ways for you to spend money. Where's your fucking Crown Store money going if they're not going to fix your fucking game?
That is an excellent. Yeah, there's an excellent point, and I agree with you, Broden, in that sense that should be the number one priority. But I mean, like, they are ZeniMax are controlled by a corporate entity, and MMOs that tend to be controlled by corporate entities,
private equity has
the worst type. Not everyone is fucking Square Enix, who is willing to let your game shut down for a year while they fix stuff. Square Enix is a special snowflake in that case.
We can't compare it to that because Square Enix makes a shit ton of money from elsewhere. They can afford to do it.
Well, you could argue that ZeniMax makes a shit ton of money from elsewhere.
Do they?
They are a very big company. Yes, they are.
What else do they do?
Skyrim. ZeniMax Online Studios is a sister company to Bethesda. Bethesda and all these other games, Arkane Studios,
Skyrim isn't very much a current revenue right now, though. It
doesn't matter. What do you think about the Skyrim Special Edition? That was just brand new.
I thought it was a piece of shit.
Well, it doesn't matter. You know how many people bought it?
Stupid people on consoles because they don't have the PC.
The
guys, leverage exists. You guys know leverage exists, right?
Yeah, no. Even with that being said, but they're a very large company. Plus, they just won $50 million from fucking Facebook. But neither here nor there.
Then maybe they can spend that money to fix their fucking game.
They probably are. I mean,
we'll see.
We'll see. Definitely. I actually think
it's a complicated process, and it would definitely take more time than a few hours that it takes them to do maintenance. Because if it didn't, it would have been fixed.
Oh, I understand that it takes a long time, but it takes longer to develop an expansion pack than to fix a glitch.
Yeah, but you can't wait around for your community to sit around and do nothing while you're attempting to do.
They waited a year and did nothing already.
They're still working on it, but that's just it. Everyone's working on these bugs, but they haven't figured out what the issue was. And I'm not giving them a free pass here, but you literally cannot sit there and wait for a year doing no content whatsoever while you wait for them to try. Does this work? No, it doesn't. Let's go back.
But that's been glitches since day one.
They're not all the same glitches.
A lot of the glitches and a lot of the problems that spawned in PvP are actually results of them trying to block a lot of those issues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the system that they need to adjust, because it's sort of made a PvP laggy, FPS droppy, whatever you want to call it, because it's an anti-botting thing, I think, or something like that. It's put in Cyrodiil as well, and it really doesn't work with Cyrodiil. So it's complicated. It's something that's put in to stop players from abusing the game, which is in turn also ruining the game. And they released their game too early, right? So they didn't think about all this shit, and they're still figuring stuff out. But problem is...
And with that being said, there's also a certain level of, even with them doing, like, let's just take the Cyrodiil fixes, for instance. Yeah. They've even said, we can't do a lot of these fixes on PTS, because people are like, why don't you do it on PTS? And it's because none of you guys freaking log in. Like, we can't test these big fixes unless we have a lot of people playing it, so they have to go on live. And we can't do these massive sweeping fixes, because then, it'll break the game, right? Like, really, so we have to do a little bit at a time to try to increase or make it better. All right. Well, anyone have anything else they want to say about Morrowind? Again, we're going to talk very heavily about...
Did we talk about Morrowind? I'm not sure.
Sort of did.
Well, you can talk about it on Tales of Tamriel when I'm not around to shit on your game.
That's what he's here for, right? All right, guys. We kind of did talk about Morrowind, about it being the expansion, and we kind of spun off on...
How it's not a Morrowind rework or remake out what everybody wants. That weird thing.
All right, guys. We do have a couple emails real quick, which aren't really emails, but a couple iTunes reviews, which we want to give a shout-out from Mosaic83.
Shout out to you for giving a shout-out to us.
Thank you. Yes, I know. I like that. And I'm going to say this again, but I always butcher his name. LaPlante? Yeah, LaPlante. He gave us a 5-star review as well, so thank you so much.
I think that review is a plant.
Yeah.
Send me...
It's French, right?
Send me your hate mail, by the way. It feeds me.
It does.
He's hungry for it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Sorry about the slight glitch with this cat that's sitting on my lap, and I'm contemplating eating it for dinner. Yeah, this was the Dungeon Crawler Podcast. I want to thank my co-hosts, Broden, Isari, Tarua. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you to the chat room.
Bye, guys.
People who are in the stream might have noticed that me and Isari are not slideshows this time either.
Yeah, right? New equipment. They actually look pretty good.
We decided to be professional and get actual cameras.
Look pretty good. I like it.
Apparently mine was 15 years old.
Mine was pretty old.
Yeah.
I can show you what my old one was.
Oh. What is that?
It's the globe.
Yeah. Mine was actually, I think, an older globe than that. Yeah, it was another one, another C one.
An even older globe. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back in 2 weeks for episode 3 of the Dungeon Crawlers. Everyone just have a wonderful day. The Dungeon Crawlers Podcast is a production of DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com. Funding for the Dungeon Crawlers Podcast is provided by the generous listeners of the Dungeon Crawler Network. To support the Dungeon Crawler Network, visit us on Patreon. Music in this episode is produced by Ben Sound. You can find this and other royalty-free music at bensound.com. Check out this and all of our other podcast offerings at DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com.